Welcome. Joe Volpe, publisher of Corriere Canadese, North America's only Italian language daily newspaper, here on behalf of Go Live TV and Corriere Media Group with our continuing series on the Toronto municipal elections. With me today is none other than Ken Lister. Now, we've seen him before. He is now running for council in Ward 17.
Yep.
Okay, that's in Don Valley North. It's a new riding. We've been talking earlier about Ken making the jump from Toronto District School Board. I always get that wrong. It's the public school board.
Public, yeah.
There he is, right here. So Ken, you want to move from this environment at the school board level, where you were in charge of ensuring the management of the finances. I think we'll talk about that for a minute. You're going from that environment to one where presumably, I mean, he's there now, the chairman of that new board, the Toronto City Council, with John Tory. So you want to make that switch. Why?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me again. It's an honor to be back and speaking with you. I've been a school board trustee for the last 4 years in my community, and it's been an honor to serve. I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's been wonderful and fulfilling. I've made a lot of changes in the 4 years that I've been school trustee. But I feel that there's more things that I can do at City Hall now. I've accomplished each of my goals at the school board, and there's things that need to be changed at City Hall. It's time for change.
Like what? Like what do you want to change? I mean, everybody's complaining about the transit system, the transportation system, crime.
Yep.
What do you want to change?
Well, we need big changes. We need small changes. Some of my priorities are certainly the number one priority is building subways, transit, and improving our roads. We need to support safe communities. We need somebody who's fiscally responsible at City Hall. We need term limits for city councillors.
Some of those guys have been there forever. Some of them may actually end up being your colleagues.
Yes, I believe strongly in term limits.
Like how many?
I think that I'm open to 3 or 4, but whether it's left-leaning or right-leaning, it doesn't serve the City of Toronto well to have the same councillors there for 2 or 3 decades. And
that's 20 to 30 years.
20, 30 years, that's too long to be in the exact same role. It's very
different. I was in Ottawa for about 23 to 24 years.
Yep.
And then the public followed your advice and said, Joe, it's time to retire.
But there's a difference. Federally, provincially, very few people have the longevity of your career. And that's for people who are the only ones that can survive in Ottawa or at Queen's Park for more than that are people who do outstanding community service and constituent response.
Well, you don't have to pay me a compliment.
No, but at the municipal level, you're going to be re-elected 95% of the time, regardless of what you do. Federally or provincially, many representatives last only 4 or 8 years. When people are tired of the Liberals, they bring in the Conservatives. When they're tired of the Conservatives, they bring in the Liberals. And regardless of the work that you do in your community, you're gone. Yeah, it's only the ones who are able to do really good work that can last through that.
You don't have parties at the municipal level,
right.
At least not formally.
Correct.
So you've got to be doing a lot of negotiating to get things done. You got to balance one thing off against another.
Yep.
In Latin, they say quid pro quo. I give you this if you give me that.
And I've worked successfully as the school board trustee. I've worked very hard to work with both ND peers, Conservatives, Liberals, even a communist, when there was a communist on the TDSB. And, I can work across party lines. I don't think it serves us well to have the same people at City Hall
but are you
opposing the mayor every single day or voting with the mayor every single day.
Yeah, but what you're telling me is that you're already doing some team building. People who are supporting you across party lines, like who, for example?
I've got a coalition of Liberals and Conservatives that are supporting me. I've got the current Member of Parliament for my area, Gang 10, former Member of Parliament, Yasmin Ratansi, past President of the Toronto Taxpayers Coalition. She believes that I've been fiscally responsible as a school trustee. I spent $0 on airfare in 4 years. $0 on hotels in 4 years.
So that means you're responsible or you don't want to travel.
Fiscally responsible. And as school board trustee, I was chair of the budget committee. In 2016, I chaired the budget committee. I was able to eliminate the structural deficit that our board had faced year after year after year. There was a deficit.
So
and I
that-
eliminated
so
that
you-
without making any cuts in the classroom. We found efficiencies in IT, and we cut the discretionary budgets for superintendents.
No,
So that means
I
that's
always
why-
like that. I always like hearing that. But now let me tell you, are there any conservatives who are hearing you say? Because the ones that you've mentioned so far, from what I know, are all liberal.
I'm sorry, that
All the people that with whom you're building a coalition, they're all liberal. But have you got any conservatives on your side?
yes, for sure. Many prominent conservatives, and I will be releasing some of those in the upcoming days.
Well, you don't have to tell me because
Yes.
the word is out everywhere that Mike Harris is impressed with you.
I've got a very strong relationship with Mike Harris, Mayor John Tory. Both have been very encouraging, and we need someone that can work across party lines to get things done at City Hall. And that's what I will
but
do.
the riding that you're going to, you initially announced you were going to run in part of that riding when there was a 44 to 47 seat projection. Now it's 25. The kind of people that you're running against, do they have a name recognition across the boundaries?
Well, there's most of them have no name recognition, and
So
it's-
everybody
it's-
starts off the same.
Yeah, everyone's starting off the same, except there's only two of us that have elected experience. There's myself and there's
Well, it doesn't
former
matter who else.
councillor, and we both have name recognition in one half. In the other area, it's represented by Councillor David Shiner, but he's retiring. He's not running for re-election, so there's
So
going
his
to be
name's
change.
not going to be on the ballot,
His name won't be on the ballot.
but yours is.
Mine is.
Okay, well, good. So now let's talk for a second about the big issue of the day. And of course, there was transportation just the other day, road work, construction, all of that. But downtown Toronto, Don Valley North, just by its name, doesn't tell me that it's a downtown riding, although the valley goes from north to the south. But so what kind of transportation projects would you be working on in Don Valley North?
So it's a great question. I think this is the time for bold vision at City Hall. For years, we've talked about building transit, building subways, but if you don't have the money, you can talk until you're blue in the face. It's not going to happen. Things changed this spring. Justin Trudeau announced there would be $9 billion for the City of Toronto.
Over
Not
a 5-year period.
over a 10-year period. So that's a
$900
huge
million a year.
Yeah, that's a huge amount, and that's not for Canada, that's not for Ontario, that's for Toronto, $9 billion. That's far more than what the Scarborough subway would cost. That's far more than the cost of expanding the Shepherd subway west. That's far more than
That
the
would
cost
go
of
through
building
your
the
riding,
relief.
wouldn't
That would go from Yonge and Shepherd west to connect to what's now Shepherd West Station, what used to be Downsview Park Station.
Yeah, but how much of that goes into Don Valley North?
So that part doesn't go into Don Valley North. It goes from Bayview, so Bayview and Shepherd, all the way east to the end of the line, Don Mills and Shepherd. But people in my riding can't take that, our subway line, the Shepherd line, doesn't go anywhere except to Yonge and Shepherd. It doesn't go to Scarborough yet, and it doesn't go anywhere but Yonge and Shepherd. So to connect to the University Spadina line would be helpful on any days when there's delays on the Yonge line, for anyone who's trying to get to anywhere in the west half of the city. We need to look at connecting to Scarborough Town Centre. We need to look at building the relief line. All of the studies from the planning department at the City of Toronto show that there would be far more riders on the downtown relief subway line. And the first half of that, we can have shovels in the ground. If we have a councillor that makes it their number one priority, we can have shovels in the ground in 3 years from now. Starting on the first half of the relief line, that's $6.8 billion. Again, less than the $9 billion that the federal government's providing. So it's time for bold vision at City Hall. It's time to get things done. Enough for talking. We need to get things done before the next federal election, when another government changes its mind or a new government comes in.
Well, that $9 billion is going to be there no matter what because it's already been allocated, unless you're telling me that somebody's going to cut what's already been allocated.
That's always the risk. That's always the risk, is that it will be cut. So this is the time to get things done and to start on it before somebody says, well, you haven't even started, you haven't spent a nickel. maybe we're going to change it up or,
So
move it
let
up.
me ask you for a moment about the other big issue, and that big issue, of course, is violence in our streets, gun violence in particular.
Yeah.
And John Tory has raised this issue on several occasions. His counterparts at the federal side don't seem to be aware where they're going on this, and the guys at the provincial side, they're pretty vocal, but I'm not sure that they know much more than the Minister for Correctional Services, who I guess believes everybody should be wearing a flak jacket. But what's your proposal?
So I think we need to there are some actions that we can do as city councillors, and City Hall can take some action to reduce the violent crime. It's a huge concern in my community, and as a husband and a father of 2 young children, a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Safety is a big concern. Just 2 kilometers away from me, at the corner of Leslie and Finch, there were 2 shootings this summer. Last week, there was a shooting just 1 kilometer away from me, Don Mills and Shepherd, that resulted tragically in a loss of life. So we've seen violence in our community. There's a number of people that are scared, and they want city councillors not to throw up their hands and say it's up to the federal and provincial government to stop.
That you would do. Like there's John Tory, for example, has talked, we're going to have him here, by the way. He's said he opposes anybody who does. He opposes the suggestion that you actually not invest more in additional policing.
Mm-hmm. So some of the things that I want to do specifically, and that City Hall can do, yes, certainly, as you mentioned, supporting our police. We need to ban the sale.
More.
We can hire more. We can reallocate people from different divisions. We need to, and we can change the shift structure so that there's more of them on we have to work with the union to do that, and Mike McCormack, but we need to work and to try and get it to get our streets safer in that sense. I think we can also have a ban on the sale of handguns in Toronto, a ban on the sale of ammunition in Toronto. I think more youth outreach workers, that's going to help keep youth that are going down the life of crime, that's going to keep them from doing so. And mental health supports. Everybody has friends, family members that have fallen between the cracks and are struggling and battling mental health issues. So we can do more on that. And each of those will have a little positive effect on reducing violent crime in our city. And so I support each of them.
So you're now in Don Valley North. There's a sizable readership of the Corriere Canadese from the Victoria Park. That's your eastern boundary.
Yeah.
Over headed towards the western boundary. What's the western boundary?
Up to Bayview.
Bayview.
Yeah.
Yeah. It may come as a shock to many people, but there's a lot of our readers in that area. Have you met with them?
I have met numerous. Readers and loyal followers. There's definitely a lot, and I've gotten to use the little bit of Italian that I know at the doors. So I've gotten to use that a bit, and I've had a very warm welcome and reception. They're also appreciative too, because they know from my newsletters that I send out as trustee quarterly that I've been one of the key leads, the trustee lead for the Italian Heritage Month celebrations at the Toronto District School Board. I might
for
be
the study of international languages, including Italian.
And very much pushing the study of international languages. There's a number of parents that are interested in the programs. We have the largest Mandarin and Cantonese programs in the city, and in fact, the most, out of all the areas of the city, the most international language students are in Don Valley East, my area.
Great. So listen, Ken, all the luck to you. We're at the end of our time. I got a signal just a moment ago. So I just want to remind everybody as well that we try to flash some pictures of you in the background, but I know we're so busy talking. This is Joe Volpe on behalf of Corriere Canadese, Go Live TV, and Corcan Media Group, asking you to go ahead and follow us on Corriere.com, and you can see this interview again with Ken Lister, who's a candidate for City Council at Don Valley North, Ward 17.
That's right. And I'll put it on my website too, www.kenlister.ca.
So until our next interview, thank you for watching. Ken Lister, all the best of luck to you.
Mille
And
grazie. Thank you so much.
There you go. All right. Thank you.